Robert Rodriguez is back with the Spy Kids franchise, so today let's rank all 5 Spy Kids movies from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name's Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming content. Leave your list down below. How would you rank all 5 of the Spy Kids movies from worst to best, including the newest one on Netflix, Armageddon? For me, I have a lot of memories when it comes to the first 3 Spy Kids movies. I saw the third one in theaters. I watched the first 2 on DVD so much, so I have very fond memories of those movies. And they're not the best things ever. They meant a lot to me as a kid, so I had a lot of fun rewatching this franchise. Coming in last place is Spy Kids 4: All the Time in the World. Robert Rodriguez essentially took the same characters from the first 3 movies and translated them into the 4th film. The young girl is the more responsible one. The younger boy is often getting into trouble. It feels like the same kind of characters. And there's so much more potty humor in here that just does not work. I mean, the first 3 had its fair share of that, but I really felt like it was like the main jokes here and there. And then you have the talking dog that was very obnoxious. There is some redeeming qualities for the villain. I thought pretty emotional scenes coming towards the end, but just overall the story, the zany moments, the overuse of potty jokes, and the characters weren't as likable as Carmen and Junie. The style feels way more energetic, not in the right way. The film feels very chaotic and very messy at times. So Spy Kids: All the Time in the World. Even my daughter really didn't care much for this film after watching the first 3 films back to back. When it came time to the 4th film, we were checked out about halfway through the movie. But I did like how it wrapped up at the end. And then we also saw Carmen and Junie return in here, which was a surprise for me when I saw this movie back in 2011, and it still works to this day. Coming in 4th place is Spy Kids Armageddon. This also is one that feels like it's taking a lot of elements from the previous Spy Kids movies. You got the video game aspect, much like Spy Kids 3D. The characters feel very similar to Carmen and Junie from the first film. The story with their parents being spies, and you have your safe house. A lot of that feels like we've seen that before. The whole movie doesn't feel fresh. It feels like it's very inspired by the previous movies, and it's lacking originality, which makes it quite frustrating to watch because the cast is fun in here. There's some really good action scenes. It has potential to be its own thing, but I think it relies so much on the Spy Kids tropes and scenes to move itself forward. It doesn't feel like it's trying to do its own thing. And that's what really hurts this film, is that it doesn't stand apart from the other movies. A lot of it, you feel like you've seen it before, though the action feels like it's a step up over other films. And the direction is not as quick and crazy as the other movies. It feels more toned down compared to films like Spy Kids 3D and even Spy Kids All the Time in the World. But I wish they would have took this film in a different route and had an original story for Spy Kids rather than piggybacking off of the other films. Coming in 3rd place is Spy Kids 3D. This film is really bizarre. It has some really crazy performances from Sylvester Stallone. Elijah Wood makes a small cameo within here. What makes this film so entertaining is how silly this movie is. It really embraces the campy feel to it, the 3D part of it. In the video game world, despite having some terrible green screen for when it was released, it's still a lot of fun. The chance for Junie to become more of an independent character is solid throughout this movie as he's meeting other characters within the film, having him try to rescue his sister. But the whole family connection that he has in here, Robert Rodriguez has done that very well with all of the Spy Kids movies, is the family aspect to it. And it really shines within this movie. Crazy performance from Stallone, still one of his most bizarre performances. But Spy Kids 3D, I remember seeing it in theaters and thinking the 3D was like some of the best things I've ever seen in my life. And today it's just a campy, entertaining movie that I know is bad, but it's just a lot of fun. Coming in 2nd place is Spy Kids 2. I love the little creatures that Steve Buscemi had in this movie. I think it's one of my favorite parts of the Spy Kids franchise is those little creatures that eventually became these big creatures and the connection he had with them. I thought it was very sweet. I thought there were some cool designs and some fun names that he had for it, but I like exploring a different location this time around on this island and having other agents within the film. It really takes the style of the first film and the structure of it all with the family, and this really expands on it with a lot of fun jokes and just giving us more lore to the OSS and the other characters within the film. And seeing them all interact with each other was a lot of fun. But when you get to the island, that's where I think the film really does work with Steve Buscemi and falling in the volcano and just staying there for hours. I remember that as a kid. I thought it was the most hilarious thing ever.
How could you be eating in a time like this? Ground!
But Spy Kids 2, the right elements from the first film. The reason it sits at second place is the first half doesn't work as well as the first half for Spy Kids. But overall, Spy Kids 2 for me is still a really fun film as an adult, and I loved watching it as a kid. But coming in first place is Spy Kids. This was a staple to my childhood. I loved watching this movie as a kid, and the music, the characters, the family, and the bizarre creatures that Junie loves to watch on television that we encounter throughout the film. They really have a story that's able to grow the young Spy Kids throughout as they learn about themselves and their parents and start to really trust each other. That development for these characters is very strong throughout, and they're very likable as well. Despite them hating each other for a good half of the film, I still really like these characters. And you get some bizarre moments with Mr. Floop, but I really like that character played by Alan Cumming and the story for it. But it has some like nice government spy feel to it. The characters are likable. There's some fun sequences throughout. The score is really good and very iconic for the Spy Kids franchise. To me, this was a fun action film as a kid, and even though I loved the second film as a child, I watched the first Spy Kids a lot growing up, and that's one of the reasons too why it sits at first place. It still holds up to this day with the story about family and believing in yourself and working as a team. Those are some strong messages that I think flowed nicely throughout the film. So there you guys have it, all 5 Spy Kids movies ranked worst to best. Have you guys seen all 5? What did you think about them? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.